Right, guys, welcome back to the Tackle Room. We've got a bit of a special one today. It's the first time we've had two guests on at the same time, and we've got England ladies carp angling members, Kayleigh Dowd and Ellen Beedham. How are we doing, ladies?
Yeah, good. Just about recovered, but yeah, it was a tiring one.
Same with you, Ellen?
Yeah, all good. Yeah, just about managed to stay awake now. Yeah.
So, for people that don't know, obviously you've just come back from the ladies' World Carp Fishing Championships. You guys managed to finish fourth overall. Was it fifth as a team? And you also managed biggest fish.
Yeah, 16.3 kilos the fish went. So
what would that be in pounds for the people out there that
37, 38. And we also had one at 13 kilos, which would have been the second biggest fish. So as a collective, me and Ellen had quite a lot of big fish in the mix.
That's really good. Really good. We'll start actually this way. For a lot of people that don't know a lot about competitive carp angling, we'll come to you first, Ellen. What is it all about? Obviously, competitive carp fishing, especially on the world stage.
Well, I mean, it's to catch the most fish. It's the ultimate game, to catch the most, have the biggest weight at the end of the day. But until you've competed on the world stage, there's nothing else like it against other anglers that are very, very good, against other countries that are also renowned for their match carp sort of angling. It's something else. The buzz it gives you, and the excitement, and the hard work that comes with it as well.
Yeah. And Kayleigh, how long is the World Carp Fishing Championships?
So it's 72 hours non-stop. So you start at 12:30 on the Tuesday. I think we started and finished at 12:30 on the Friday. So literally you're in a 20-metre by 20-metre box for 72 hours. And you have that time to catch as many fish as you can. And it's the biggest accumulative weight that wins that section, which obviously works on section points a bit like match fishing.
Yeah.
So there's 8 people at 8 teams in our section, and then we have the biggest weight get a 1, second 2, and so on. You work in pairs, so it's all done in pairs as well.
Yeah. So it's quite similar to obviously the course match fishing style in regards to section points and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing 72 hours in a box it's quite tiring work, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's non-stop. Luckily, unluckily, we didn't catch many through the night. So as much as we're working hard, it wasn't as intense as what the daytime was, which I very rarely got to eat breakfast because once you started spodding, that was it. So we have times to start and stop spodding. So you could start spodding at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And it had to be all done by 6:30 at night. And then through the night, you're only allowed to do the catapult or throwing stick. So it was ridiculously hard during the day, non-stop. And then on a night, once we couldn't spod, the fish seemed to move off and we didn't catch that many during the night. So it was a little bit more downtime.
Yeah, that's it. So, Ellen, we'll come to you again. The venue, Lac de Panessière Reservoir, what was the actual venue like?
So it is a river that's been, they've built a barrage at one end and flooded a valley. So within it, it's ridiculous depths, up to sort of 70 plus foot in places. In there, you've got like cliff faces, you've got buildings, you've got tree stumps, you've got every snag that you can imagine under the water. So the actual banks as well are very steep from where the water goes up and down, and the water was like quite low, and it must have gone down 4 foot whilst we were actually fishing it. And if you think when it's full, it's over 1,000 acres in size, so it's a big body of water. So it throws every challenge at you possible.
Yeah. And just a little thing out there. Obviously, it's carp fishing, but were there any nuisance sort of species in there that caused issues?
We had a few bream along the way, a few bream and a few roach along the way. Yeah, They kind of moved in the morning until the carp got back on us, and once the carp were on us, it pushed the smaller fish out. But yeah, there were a few about.
Yeah. So was it a high sort of stock water? Was there a lot of fish in there?
Yeah, it's ram full of carp.
Yeah.
They've literally put a lot of so the average size was sort of 3 kilo, so what, 6-7 pounds, somewhere around there. They're all relatively new fish that they've put in for the competitions. The French use that lake for a lot of carp competitions, and within that there were some larger carp that obviously been in there a bit longer, and we managed to get amongst a few of those. But it is literally full of small new carp.
Yeah. What sort of gear were you fishing for them, Kayleigh? Was it more catered towards a match style, or was it full because of the snags and everything like that? Did you need to fish the riot gear to get them out?
It wasn't too bad, to be honest. Well, I say that we're fishing 18-pound line.
Yeah.
Just because the distance wasn't very far, so we could gear it up. Zig line were 12-pound zig line, and then we were just fishing solid bags. So zig, solid bags, and then a few D-rigs. So no different to what we'd use back home, I'd say. Just strong enough that if you hook something, you get it in long braided leaders, just for obviously the snags. But it wasn't too dissimilar gear-wise. Would you say, Alec? Well, pretty similar to what we'd use back home, apart from the length of the zigs, obviously.
Yeah, pretty much. I lengthened the braided leaders, and the length of the zigs were ridiculous.
Yeah, and obviously chatting before the start of when we started recording, Ellen, you've made it clear to me that the actual reservoir was really deep as well, sort of like 40, 50, 60 foot in places. How does that affect where you're fishing, do you feel? Do you think that when you're putting bait in, it goes all over the shop, obviously going down in the layers, or do you feel you've just got to keep baiting to get as much food in the spot as possible?
We just kept baiting, because if you think, we were fishing in 40 foot of water, so your spom lands and the pyramid of the bait going down would be like, so a bucket in 40 foot of water, a bucket of bait is not gonna do anything. So it was literally, we were putting 15 spoms out over the zigs. That would be enough to get us our first bite. We'd deal with that, another 15 spoms. But as the day went on, when we were gearing up for sort of afternoon into the evening, we put a lot heavier bait in, so it'd sink quicker to the bottom, so we could start catching on the bottom. And obviously catching the fish on the bottom is a lot easier than playing them in on 30 foot zigs.
Yeah.
So where we could, we put the heavier bait in to draw the fish down, to make it easier for ourselves.
Yeah. And do you think there's a different, there's obviously a massive difference between a 30 foot zig and a bottom bait. Were the fish easier to get in on the bottom compared to a 30 foot zig? Obviously, all fish have got to be landed with the rod, so it's going to take some hard work.
So because of the sheer drop, so as you went out, we were pulling the fish up like a rock face.
Yeah.
So when we got our initial take, we had to run up the bank, which was at quite a steep angle, full of rocks, to the top of our swim to get us elevated, to allow us to bring the fish up the rock face. So whilst there, if you've got a lead that's only 4 or 5 inches from the fish's mouth, it's a lot easier than having a lead that's 30 foot from the fish's mouth, because that lead was plugging a lot easier into the rocks when they were on the longer zigs. So we had to take it a lot steadier when they were on the zig. So once we got them feeding on the bottom, that's what we wanted to do. It was just far easier to get the fish in, and quicker to get the fish in as well. And it's all about speed. Yeah.
And Kayleigh, what sort of baits were you fishing over there? Obviously, zig fishing and bottom bait fishing's are very different, but obviously the guys back home, some people might not know the difference.
Yeah, so the zig's obviously a long piece of line with a little bit of foam on the end. So in our case, we're fishing 30 foot. I just say we're not allowed to drop the leads at World Champs. So you have got your leads swinging round on top of the zig as well, which obviously makes it more difficult. But baits were pretty similar to over here, mainly pellets. and then some boilies in there as well, chopped so they did roll down the shelf. So everything that went in boilie wise that we could was half, and then quite a lot of smelly liquids. So we're using different liquids and oils just to leave that scent in the water for the zigs with a bit of cloudy mix. So we had like a trail going through the water, and then the bigger pellets, 8mm and 14mm pellets that got down to the bottom. So we did tend to catch the bigger fish on the bottom. So they were a lot easier to play, and they tended to be a bit bigger on the bottom as well. So like I say, if we could catch them on the bottom, that's what we were trying to do.
Yeah, that's a real good insight for the guys back home, obviously. We'll go on to the World Champs itself now. So do you get a practice time, or is it straight on the venue?
Straight in. You can't fish the venue for, I think, 2 weeks before the start of the match. So you draw your sections. I think Kellen and a couple of other lasses went out for a practice when I was over in Serbia. So they'd already had a little insight. So the depths didn't blow as heads too much because we knew we could catch. Whereas if we'd have rocked up and found 40 foot, I don't think we'd have been much confident catching anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, you literally start, you draw the sections on the Monday, so you know what section you're off into. Then the Tuesday, the draw in the morning, and straight on with the match.
Nice. So, Ellen, we'll go day one with you. Just if you want to give us a bit of a breakdown. Obviously, it's first day in your peg, first day in your box. What was the feeling going in there, and how did it go?
So I was really excited. It's kind of my kind of water. Harder you work, the more fish you're going to catch. So we're getting set up. It was a bit of a rush. You got 2 hours to get all your gear into the box, set everything up, plumb, and then so from 10:30 we literally had to rush to get everything done. 12:30 the match starts, but within those 2 hours we wanted to find the depth as well because of how critical basically the depths are there, and we needed to know. So we got all that done. It was a little bit chaotic to start with, but come 12:30 we were ready to start fishing. We stuck to the team plan, and straight away we started to get bites. We lost the first fish, went straight into the sort of the cliff that I described to you, that we had to pull them up under the water.
Yeah.
And immediately we thought, right, we've got to do something different. So that's when we started running up the bank. And then we just carried on ticking through. Then 6 hours then till 6:30 till we had to stop spodding literally went really quick. And we got ourselves onto we were up with sort of the French and the Italians at that point, and it was kind of 3 teams that were pulling away from the rest of the field on the first day. We went into the first night expecting to catch quite a bit, to be honest. We thought the bites would keep coming throughout the night, but they didn't. They dried up, and we were like, well, how do we catch fish here? We were putting bait out all night with the catapult and with the throwing stick, but we just could not buy a bite overnight. I think we only had one, and that was foul hooked on a zig. But they do count. So we struggled overnight that first night, and then we got ourselves all ready for the next morning. And the next morning is when we caught the bigger fish. We caught the 16-kilo fish, and we had another couple of fish that first thing, which put us into first place in the section.
How was that feeling? Obviously, catching them bigger fish as well compared to the other guys.
We knew then that, like, if we have a 16-kilo fish and they're averaging 3 kilo, they've got to catch 3, 4, maybe 5 fish to that one fish. So it put us in a really strong position. That did.
Yeah, that's good. And Kayleigh, we'll go on to day 2. Obviously, you've had the big fish in the morning. How did the rest of the day pan out?
Yeah, I seemed a little bit more organised on day 2. So me and Ellen have our own roles within the swim. Obviously, it's all done in pairs. Ellen does 99% of the casting. I'll say I did cast A-rod. I did a bit of spodding on the evening. Ellen did the rest of the casting. So my job's to make sure that all them rods are set up in order, ready to go, all wrapped, and all with bait on. So my job was getting all them sorted. Ellen were casting and spodding in between fish, and then playing fish. Ellen were playing the fish because she had the height advantage, and then I'd net the fish. So it seemed to go really well. We got into a bit of a rhythm, caught some fish. We'd spod a little bit, stop, we'd catch, and then just go again. So yeah, we seemed to go really well day two.
Yeah. Where did you finish up at the end of day two? Were you still sort of up there in the section?
I can't remember if were these Italians in front of us, or I think the Italians were just in front of us, and then obviously we didn't catch fruit night, and then I think it was the days all mingle into one. But I know then we left the Italians behind, and it was chasing the French then.
Yeah. That's it. And Ellen will go on to the next day, just to give the last bit of the breakdown, really.
Yeah. So day three is when we really put our foot down. So we made a bit of a tactical change. We swapped off the solid bags and went to big, bright, sort of wafter baits, which literally, as soon as we put one out, it ripped off the bottom. And that day we had 32 fish during the day.
Yeah.
We proper put a foot down. We were organised. We were pretty slick, to be honest. We didn't have time for anything else other than drinking some water and literally catching fish. And then at the end of that was the Thursday. So at the end of the Thursday, we were then 5 kilo behind the French at the end of the day. We completely lost the Italians. They'd dropped back. They'd lost 100 kilo on us. And yeah, it was between us and the French then going into that last night.
Yeah, that's really it's one of them things with fishing, especially fishing for such a long time. You see the changes going throughout the day, especially carp fishing on a venue like that. Your weights are going to be a lot higher compared to obviously a venue that's got a hell of a lot of big fishing compared to a hell of a lot of small fish, because they're notoriously harder to catch when they get bigger.
Yeah. And so these were new fish. They were quite simple. They weren't difficult fish to catch. It was more the circumstances and the environment that we were trying to catch them in that made it challenging.
Was it more the fact that they wanted to stay at certain levels, obviously in the water column and stuff like that, where they wanted to eat bait?
Yeah, well, it was mad because we'd get a double take. We'd have one on the bottom and one 30 foot up in the air, which was like crazy. And you'd never really see that over here. So I think once the shoal moved on to you, they were happy to feed in all kind of depths. But we did catch better higher up, so 10 foot below the surface and on the bottom. When we started to drop the zigs down or push the zigs up, the takes were slower. So they were the 2 points that we were doing the best at.
And but the last part of the match, Kayleigh, how did that pan out for you?
We had 10 fish in the last morning, so from 8 o'clock when we could start spodding till 12:30. And at this point, we didn't know what the French had had overnight.
Yeah.
So obviously we knew we was 4 kilos behind the French. And then, like I say, we caught 10 fish, so it was business as usual. As soon as we started spawning at 8 o'clock, 15 spawns and away the rods went. And we caught, like I say, 10 in that morning. Once it had finished, then obviously we learned that I think the French got 35, 40 kilos on us, so they'd had some through the night where, once again, we had 2 through the night that night, just randomly. We'd still been baiting with a throwing stick throughout the night because that's what we'd been told to do. That was planned, to keep the bait going in, even though we'd not caught up previous night. So we did get 2 fish. But yeah, so we keep pushing, thinking that we're close to the French, and that's all we can do is try as best now and put as much in the slings as possible.
Yeah, and how did you finish up? Obviously, we know you got 4th place overall individually, so I'm guessing, is that a second in section or first in section?
Yeah, we were second in our section.
Yeah.
The French in our section won it individually.
Yeah.
So we was just behind them on weight. So we were second in the section, and then the top weight individually in the second. So we got 4th.
Yeah. I'd obviously just like to say, guys out there, the way you've spoke then, obviously 72 hours, it is probably one of the most high pressure things that you could probably go through. For the guys out that are watching, obviously now, what's the feeling like start to finish? I'm guessing once you've finished, it is a massive come down.
Yeah. Go on now.
I just say it's a massive come down, as it's quite emotional as well. When that final hooter goes and it's all over, it's you've done your best. Sometimes your best isn't quite good enough on the day, which is we done our best to turn the French over, but yeah. So but now it's kind of it's a real come down. It's like, what am I doing with my time? Because the prep that went into it before the World Champs, literally, it's not all about just that 72 hours. Probably the month before we went out, we're literally prepping bait, rigs, solid bags, zigs, everything was done, and making sure everything's working properly. So now we're kind of like, the main focus was to catch up on our sleep, because I think myself and Kayleigh probably had a maximum of 10 hours sleep within that 72 each. And then obviously the drive back as well, which was quite tiring. So that's been the big thing, sort of getting ourselves back into the land of the living.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, we're already talking about Latvia. I'm not going to lie. We're already talking about Latvia and looking at the venue and stuff. And the whole cycle starts again, because it's that buzz that it gives you.
Yeah, and I've a totally different sort of aspect to angling. I did a podcast with Will Raisin probably 2 to 3 months ago when he come back from the European Championships. And one of the comments he made to me was, there is nothing like fishing on the world stage. When you come back and you go fishing normally, it'll feel the weirdest thing ever. But when you get back to the world stage, that's when you know that the buzz is back.
Yeah.
We'll now go on. Obviously, it's a team event, not just obviously pairs event. As a team, how was it? Was it dominated by the draw, or was it more of a sort of, you've got to get your tactics right?
I'd say it was quite. I'd say more the draw. Tactics obviously played a big part in it as well, but I'd say the draw had a place to be. We didn't do particularly well on the draw.
Yeah.
And a few pegs. Obviously, we was in the middle. The end pegs are always going to be favourites. I think in a C section they had a huge cliff in front of them, and they were hooking the fish, but they just struggled to land them with a cliff base, and kept losing a few. And then I think the same round in A section, they struggled a bit round there on the draw. But yeah, I think tactics wise as well, I think the whole event fished quite well. There was fish there to be caught. It's just getting them right. And obviously the French had been drilled there. They knew each peg. They had the men's on there the week before. So the teams that had men involved obviously knew the tactics. I don't think the tactics were the difficult part. Yeah. Apart from through the night, we seemed to struggle as well. But yeah, I think the draw had a big thing to play in it as well.
Yeah, that's it. We'll finish the World Champs chat there, but I just want to get a bit of background from the pair of you, so people obviously get to know a bit about yourselves. We'll start with Ellen. What is your sort of background to fishing then? Has it always been carp fishing, or?
Well, I used to go with my dad when I was a kid on the River Trent up in Nottingham. And then as I got older, I kind of stopped going with my dad because it wasn't cool as so much then.
Yeah.
And then like I was walking, like when I moved house, bought my own house in Coventry, walking down the canal, and I was like, I'm going to get myself a rod, and I started fishing the canals. Then went to commercials, and then I started catching carp. So for the last sort of 20 years, I've predominantly been a carp angler. And I've kind of learned my sort of skills at linear and places like that. So I got used to casting distance. So it's something I've always done. So now it comes a lot more naturally to me than some of the other team members that have sort of learned to fish on smaller waters. So pretty much carp. Yeah, I love my carp angling.
And we'll move on to Kayleigh now. Obviously, a lot of the viewers will know Kayleigh from not only ladies carp fishing, but also the match fishing scene. 2023 ladies national champion, qualified for Fishermania, and obviously team member of the England ladies float team.
Yeah, so I've been fishing since I was about 10. I started with the local junior club, Leeds Juniors, and literally just progressed up through there, fished the national stage, and then I moved on to the internationals when I got a little bit older. The way that the carp fishing come about is I was fishing the UK champs, and obviously Rob does the UK champs as well. And I'd always done a little bit of carp fishing with Adam, but Rob approached me and asked me if I was interested in the carp side with the England team. So obviously something that I enjoy. Came along to the training sessions. Ellen's helped me out massively, so like I couldn't cast 100 yards to be honest. So I had quite a lot of days at Drayton, stood on the dam wall, casting and catching. Ellen got me up to speed, put me right, and yeah, moved on from there. Partnered with Ellen since I've been in the team, and it just works. Obviously, she's really strong at casting, and I'm really well organised, and we can both do both, but we have our strong points, and that's why we work really well together.
That's it. And obviously, fishing both sides, I'm guessing you see a massive similarity between the two. Obviously, preparation-wise, it is different, but at the same time, you just said then you're very organised in how you do everything.
Yeah, I think it's more similar than what you think. I think the match carp fishing's a lot different to carp fishing. So it's more related to, it's a bit like feeder fishing, basically.
Yeah.
But all beefed up. Whereas the big carp fishing where you go for a few days is completely different to this style of fishing. You need to work hard, be consistent, keep baiting regular. So a bit like general match fishing, whereas what I class as like big carp fishing is totally different. You might cast a rod and leave it 24 hours. The match side is very much just like match fishing. Well, it is match fishing, yeah.
That's it. And just before we go on to the final couple of questions, I'd just like to put, obviously, the team this year went through a bit of a transition sort of thing, and we'll just mention your partner, Kayleigh, Adam, for obviously stepping in as interim manager and getting you guys out there. And obviously, a lot of people saw probably on Facebook Lives your little lad Oliver on the Facebook Lives as well.
Yeah, so Tony's done most of the organising, so without Tony, we probably wouldn't have gone away this year just because, like you say, we'd had a team change, so we didn't have a manager. And obviously, to go away, we need a manager because the paperwork side and to do the draw. So if we were all fishing, there wouldn't have been anybody to do that.
Yeah.
So Adam said that he doesn't mind doing that side, and I think he secretly enjoyed it, and he put a lot of effort into it, and he did enjoy doing it. So yeah, but obviously for Adam to come along and me to be fishing, we had the little one, and he'd already stopped away when we went to Serbia with his grandparents, and they were over in Berlin doing a marathon.
Yeah.
So we had no other choice whether to bring him with us. So yeah, he did a full week camping on the bank with us, and Adam looked after him for the 3 days, and did manage to win. So
that's it. So we'll go to the final two questions then. I'll give it to both of you. I'll go with Ellen first. If there was any bit of advice you could give to any junior angler out there that wants to get into the international carp fishing scene, what would that be?
Get out on the bank, keep practicing, working hard, catching them fish, and approach us. You know, we're anglers at the end of the day. So if they want any advice, they want to come and fish with us or anything like that, drop us a line, come and see what it's all about, because that's going to be the future of it all, and the future of international carp fishing. But the main thing is just get out on the bank, catch some fish, and get proficient in catching fish.
That's it. And the same question for you, Kayleigh.
Yeah, literally what Ellen said, you need to be out there catching fish. We're not bothered about what size, we just need to be lots and lots of carp, obviously on carp tactics. Enjoy it and drop us a line if you are interested. Let us know. They've got meetings. I think they're looking at potentially doing trials or get-togethers. So
yeah,
got meetings to discuss going forward. But yeah, if you are interested in it, let one of us know. We're all on social media. We've got the Carp Team England Ladies Facebook page as well. So if they drop a line in there, we'll get back to them, yeah.
That'll be perfect. And the last question for the pair of you guys, if there was any other competition you'd want to win, whether it be Angling Trust or sort of FIPS events, what would that be? It's a bit of a simple question, but we'll ask the pair of you. Start with Kayleigh.
Got a bit worlds for me. If I had one to win, it'd be a gold medal at international level, yeah.
Would that be team or individual?
I take team over individual.
Yeah, I think every single person that I've asked in the international scene said exactly the same.
Yeah.
And same for you, Ellen.
Yeah, it's got to be the worlds. Looking at the French stood on that stage with them gold medals around the neck, it puts a fire in your belly. And yeah, I want one of them gold medals. Team as well, definitely team.
That's it. So we'll finish it there, guys. I'd just like to say thanks for coming on. It's been brilliant. And obviously, we'll try and get you on again next year, either before or after the World Championships, to see how you get done.
Lovely.
No problem, thank you.
That'll be brilliant. Thanks for coming on, guys. And again, we'll be uploading more episodes in the coming weeks. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.